everyone, welcome back to Pages of the Globe. Today I'm going to be reading to you the short story called Joy by Anton Chekhov. Now, this story is quite short, and it's about this guy who is in Russia, and he comes over to his parents' house right when everyone's about to go to sleep, and he's super excited because his name is in the newspaper. And the reason his name is in the newspaper is honestly not that good. But he believes that all press is good press. He believes that all publicity is only good. As he says, it's only celebrated people whose names are published in the papers. But at the same time, his parents are not that happy about why his name was published in the paper. And that kind of brings us to the title of this short story, Joy. Because it symbolizes our main character's joy and excitement of being, quote, famous. But it also shows the irony of how he's happy about something that you really shouldn't be proud about. So, before we get too much in the story, I'm going to tell you a couple facts about the author Anton Chekhov, who you've probably actually heard of. So, Anton Chekhov was born on January 29th, 1860, and he died on July 15th, 1904. He was a Russian playwright and short story writer who is considered to be one of the greatest writers in the world. To support his family and to pay his tuition fees, he wrote daily short humorous sketches and vignettes of contemporary Russian life. In 1887, Chekhov won the Pushkin Prize for a short story collection At Dusk. In 1887, Anton was asked to write a play, which he wrote entitled Ivanov. It was produced and it became a hit. Anton began to search for his purpose in his own life after his brother's death and focused on prison reform. His findings after a trip to a prison on an island north of Japan resulted in the social science piece titled Island of Sakhalin. Anton Chekhov's short stories included The Lady with the Dog, that some have called the greatest short story ever written. Joy itself was published in 1883. So, as you can tell, Anton Chekhov is a very famous and prominent writer. And what's funny is the fact that he thought that people would only read his books like 1.5 years after his death. But it turns out that we're still reading his books more than 100 years later. Before we start, I would like to apologize in case I mispronounce any names or have mispronounced any names, because this is a Russian short story. It was translated into English, so I will not be able to pronounce everything correctly, so I apologize for that in advance. Without further ado, let's get on with the story. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which short story you would like to hear next. Joy by Anton Chekhov. It was 12 o'clock at night. Mitya Koldarov, with an excited face and ruffled hair, flew into his parents' flat and hurriedly ran through all the rooms. His parents had already gone to bed. His sister was in bed, finishing the last page of a novel. His schoolboys' brothers were asleep. "Where have you come from?" cried his parents in amazement. "What is the matter with you?" "Oh, don't ask. I never expected it. No, I never expected it. It's positively incredible." Mitya laughed and sank into an armchair, so overcome by happiness that he could not stand on his legs. "It's incredible. You can't imagine. Look." His sisters jumped out of bed and, throwing a quilt around her, went into her brother's room. His sister jumped out of bed and, throwing a quilt around her, went to her brother. The schoolboys woke up. "What's the matter? You don't look like yourself." "It's because I'm so delighted, Mama. Did you know now all of Russia knows of me? All of Russia. Till now, you only knew that there was a registration clerk called Dmitry Koldarov. And now, all of Russia knows it. Mama, oh Lord." Mitya jumped up and ran up and down all the rooms, and then sat down again. "Why? What has happened? Tell us sensibly. You live like wild beasts. You don't read the newspapers and take no notice of what's published. Oh, there's so much that's interesting in the papers. If anything happens, it's all known at once. Nothing is hidden. Oh, how happy I am. Oh, Lord. It's only celebrated people whose names are published in the papers, and now they have gone on and published mine. What do you mean? Where? The papa turned pale, and the mama glanced at the holy image and crossed herself. The schoolboys jumped out of bed, and just as they were in short night skirts, went up to their brother. Yes, my name has been published. Now all of Russia knows of me. Keep the paper, Mama, in memory of it. We will read it sometimes. Look. Mitya pulled out of his pocket a copy of the paper and gave it to his father, and pointed with his finger to a passage marked with a blue pencil. Read it. The father put on his spectacles. Do read it. The mama glanced at the holy image and crossed herself. The papa cleared his throat and began to read. At 11 o'clock on the evening of the 29th of December, a registration clerk of the name Dmitry Koldarov. You see, go on. A registration clerk of the name Dmitry Koldarov, coming from the beer shop in Kozhin's building, the Little Bohemia, in an intoxicated condition. That's me, and Semyon Petrovich. It's all described exactly. Go on, listen. Intoxicated condition, slipped and fell under a horse belonging to a sled driver, a peasant in the village of Durakino, the Yukonsky district, called Ivan Dotrov. The frightened horse stepped over Koldarov, and drawing the sledge over him together with a Moscow merchant of the second guild called Stefan Lokov, who was in it, dashed along the street and was caught by some house porters. Koldarov, at first in an unconscious condition, was taken to the police station and there examined by the doctor. The blow he had received on the back of his head. It was from the shaft, Papa. Go on, read the rest. He had received on the back of his head turned out not to be serious. The incident was duly reported. Medical aid was given to the injured man. They told me to foment the back of my head with cold water. You've read it now? So you see, now it's all over Russia. Give it here. Mitya seized the paper, folded it up, and put it into his pocket. I'll run round to the Makarovs and show it to them. I must show it to the Ivanskys, too. Natya Ivanovna and Insim Vasilich. I'll run now. Goodbye. Mitya put on his cap with its cockade, and joyful and triumphant ran into the street. The end.